2024 was a year of tumult again for the self-driving industry, with growth and success for Waymo and Chinese players, middling results for a few others, and doom for some of the biggest. I'm Brad Templeton from Robocars.com with my annual summary of the top stories of the year. Let's count them down. Honorable mention, the others. Our top 10 focus on the biggest players. But the next year had a fair bit of action. Aurora kept improving their trucks and promises real, unmanned operation next year. But the world is now less interested in promises of next year and wants to know what you can really do. We did see improvements, though, from them and other trucking players like Kodiak, Gatik, and Plus. In China, WeRide announced it would also operate in the UAE, and AutoX has been quiet with announcements. Pony, on the other hand, completed an IPO in the USA and said it would quadruple to 1,000 vehicles in 2025. On the other hand, new U.S. laws effectively forbid Chinese cars from operating in the USA. Israel's Mobileye both canceled their internal LiDAR work and continue to shift away from planning its own robotaxi offering. It will instead work with partners. One notable partner was Rimac Verne dedicated robotaxi service, which showed a nice custom robotaxi, but only as a concept. At number 10 was trouble at Motional, the MIT Singapore-based Robocar startup that was funded by Hyundai and Aptiv after Aptiv bought it. It's all Hyundai now, and the CEO founder left. With the universal trouble at automaker-based Robocar projects, things look dim for Motional, but hope remains that they can pull something together. At number 9 was one of the biggest shutdowns of a major project, as Apple killed its secretive Project Titan after many years. The world's top tech company will stay out of self-driving, which is a shame, as it has the resources to match Google and Amazon, which remain in the game, and this takes that level of resources. For Apple, though, they will do just fine either way. In fact, a large fraction of the world's ride-hails will still require Apple products to happen. At number 8 is Nuro, the best funded of the self-driving pure startups. It had a focus on delivery with its own custom small road-based robots. They've dropped that path and now plan to license their self-driving tech, which is one of the very few projects to put vehicles out on the road with nobody on board, to the various OEMs and others who will need it. Meanwhile, trucking companies, including small truck operator Gatik, continue to focus on delivery, and sidewalk robots are going strong. Starship, a company that I helped build, announced reaching 7 million autonomous deliveries, which is more autonomous trips than anybody else, including Waymo, though this is on sidewalks, of course, not roads. At number 7 is the rise of new AI techniques. Now, AI has been the tech story of the decade, particularly the application of Google's transformers to large language models. LLMs don't just do language, though. They do anything that can be turned into a string of tokens, including the stream of events perceived by a car driving down the road and its future plans. Now, every team is using both the deep learning networks that dominated the 2010s and are the key tool for perception, and LLMs for prediction and planning. If they're not going all the way to trying an end-to-end network which takes pixels and point clouds in and outputs driving commands. LLM planners are showing powerful abilities at producing natural driving and understanding situations, though they've also resulted in some surprising behaviors, including some crashes, though the teams don't ever admit that. Some believe in pure neural networks, others have found that those plateau, and more complex approaches combining several methods are necessary. No pure machine learning vehicle has yet reached the bar of driving on its own without a safety driver. At number 6, the Chinese leader Baidu, which now claims to be doing 75,000 autonomous robotaxi rides per week, with 70 to 80% of those having no safety driver. That's a clear number 2 behind Waymo. They've also announced that their new custom robotaxi design, which they claim they can build for around $28,000 in China, including LiDARs and other extra gear. Shame that the USA wants to slap a 100% tariff on imported Chinese EVs and ban Chinese software in them. At number 5 is Waymo's growth, which includes doing 4 million autonomous rides in 2024 and rising to do 150,000 per week, expanding to more territory in Los Angeles with access to the general public, and more in the San Francisco Bay Area, with approval for the whole peninsula. They also announced they will open in 2024 in Atlanta and Austin with a new test relationship with Uber, which will handle ride-hail and depots and fleet management. Uber's already a ride-hail option in Phoenix. They will also expand to Miami in 2026, with Nigeria's Move doing depots and the Waymo One app doing exclusive ride-hail. This is the beginning of the long-awaited scaling for Waymo. They've also published impressive safety data and cemented a clear leadership. My timeline infographic, which you'll find linked below, paints their progress and that of their competitors. At number 4, different news for Waymo. They had developed a 6th-generation platform to replace the discontinued Jaguar, based on a minivan-like custom robotaxi design from China's Geely unit Zeekr. But U.S. plans for a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs put a big barrier in the way. So Waymo also introduced a partnership with Hyundai's new advanced vehicle group to produce an alternate version of the 6th-generation vehicle on top of an Ioniq 5. Tariffs won't make the Chinese tiger go away for long, though, particularly globally. At number 3, Elon Musk. Armed with data from Twitter and an estimated $250 million, he bought deep influence in the U.S. government by backing the victory of Donald Trump and being named to a new Department of Government Efficiency. That makes his companies, including Tesla, seemingly immune from regulation, which in turn suggests a major change and reduction in the regulation of self-driving cars, particularly Tesla FSD. Musk has always said that the one thing he could not predict about when his technology would deploy is regulation, but now he practically controls it. There's other things he can't predict. Unless Musk gets deregulation only of Tesla, this should be good for all players, except the Chinese. Musk is already the most distracted CEO in the world, though, and his governmental role won't make that better. At number 2, we see Tesla again. They always make news. Their FSD stack has shown significant improvement this year, though it's still a very long way away from being able to operate without supervision. Though he has, for the last 7 years, predicted it would do that in only 1 year. Ironically, the rapid progress is a sign the project is still quite immature. A mature project just wouldn't see that much visible improvement in its last few years before deployment. If a new version comes out and appears much better, it means it was seriously flawed before and surely still is. The hard reality is that Tesla FSD can complete only a few drives in a row without a problem, while Waymo is doing tens of thousands in a row. Waymo only drives a few cities because that's the right plan. They could easily drive all cities at a better level than Tesla if that made sense, but it doesn't. That made Tesla's big We Robot launch for the Tesla Robotaxi, or CyberCab, a bit of a non-event, because while the concept cars and van look nice, the software still has far to go. It showed Tesla's dedication to being a robotaxi company, and most of the event was Musk evangelizing the reasons, with a speech very similar to the ones I've been doing over a decade, so I can't fault him there. The top story is a sad one. General Motors has shut down Cruise's robotaxi efforts, and will redirect what's left of the company to work on ADAS tools for General Motors consumer cars. This wasn't too shocking. Cruise has gone into semi-hibernation after being kicked off the California streets a year ago, but it put their custom origin vehicle on the back burner too. Signs of life were rare, but they kept spending money on the leaner company, which suggested they really wanted to bring it back to life, until they didn't. While it's far from assured, there's a distinct chance that this shutdown will be marked later in history as the moment GM died, afraid of the future. Yes, it will save money, as will Aptiv, Ford, and others. Mercedes just got permission for their highway-only car to go 95 kilometers an hour in Germany, so it's still in the game in a more limited way. Broadly, though, the automaker-backed ventures have all faced trouble, though non-traditional automakers like Tesla and the Chinese EV makers aren't flagging in their enthusiasm. Of course, GM might be able to rejoin the game by licensing from Nuro or Mobileye or another provider. This was always the likely path for automakers, but it leaves them not in control of what will become the most important component of their vehicles, not a place they wanted to be. It will also be marked that Cruise and Uber, the two projects which have hit pedestrians to serious results, both received the corporate death penalty and were shut down as a result. In this case, the DMV played a large role, surely hastening Cruise's end by removing them from the streets, in part for that incident. While some question whether Robocar projects need more regulation, there's also a compelling case for less, or at least better regulation, less likely to kill multi-billion-dollar projects unless their failings are clear. We entered 2025 with only Waymo operating a robotaxi service in the West. Zoox planned to open one, but has delayed it until next year. May Mobility has limited shuttle service with no staffer on board, but full-time remote supervision. Chinese teams continue to advance. Tesla remains a wild card, many years behind Waymo and the others in safety performance, but trying different and brash approaches with the most unpredictable CEO behind the rudder, able to literally control governments to get his way. The trucking players are eager to go into production, and many startups continue their quest. The shakeout may not even be over, but 2025 will certainly offer interesting times. I'm Brad Templeton for Robocars.com.